Good evening. Thank you very much for coming along. I know it's time out of your personal time, so I appreciate that you've given us the opportunity to talk to you. If I said good evening in my home language, it would be Nosweda. Nosweda. I am British and a native speaker of English, but I'm not English. I'm from the part of the United Kingdom called Wales. And good evening in Welsh is Nosweda. We're not going to teach you Welsh. Let me tell you something about myself. My name is Mel Rogers. I think it's fairly obvious who I am from the discussions people have had. Let me share some of my experience. I am not a teacher, and certainly not a teacher of English. I never have been a teacher and never want to be a teacher. Great teachers are good communicators who know their subject. My experience from leaving school was to do an engineering degree. And when I completed the engineering degree, I went to work full-time for a company called Caterpillar, an American multinational company who manufacture construction equipment, machinery for building motorways, machineries for quarries, for open cast coal mining, large muck shifting jobs. Loved it. Great company, absolutely superb company. They took me as a trainee, and I was quite shy. I certainly wasn't somebody who relished the opportunity to stand in front of talking and talk to many people. But I found out that they knew how to bring that out of me. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest talker in the world or the greatest communicator in the world, but I'm much better than I was. From Caterpillar, I went to work for a German company called Orenstein and Koppel. Why did I leave this wonderful world, Caterpillar? Well, one of the bosses of Caterpillar left to take over responsibility for Orenstein and Koppel in the United Kingdom, and he took me with him. And it was a new opportunity, and I decided to take the trouble to do it. I was a single guy, no responsibilities, and they offered me a trip to Germany to see the equipment manufacturing. Education-wise, I went to a grammar school. It was one of the best schools in the region, Barry Grammar School. And I'll tell you a story which is very interesting for me, and I hope you're interested. I hated history in school, and the first lessons on a Monday morning were history. We had the head of history as our teacher. So by definition, we had the best teacher of history working in one of the best education establishments in the region. I hated history. One day the headmaster came in and said, "Sorry, Mr. Hutchins has been injured on the weekend. We're bringing in a new teacher." In walked Mr. Morris Braithwaite, 1 meter 98 tall, 115 kilograms, a nose pointing in the wrong direction, ears which were not matched together. But he explained what history was about. He shared how much history changed people's lives. He shared how it affected different countries. He shared the sadness of the history. He shared the glory of the history. He made history come alive. And I went from hating history to loving history. Because Morris Braithwaite was a great communicator. Of course, he was physically intimidating, 198, 115 kilograms, etc., etc. But it was his communication skills which changed me from hating history to loving history. I can't express how important communication skills are. When I talked to somebody who had a lesson from us about 2 weeks ago, as a trial lesson, I asked him what was his reaction, what was the first thing that came into his mind after he'd had the lesson. And he used an expression which I hadn't thought of. He said, "It's a humanistic approach." a humanistic approach. And I thought, what do you mean? And he said, for the first time, he felt that he was important to the teacher. That's how I felt with Morris Braithwaite, that I was important to the teacher. Communication is important. Why is English important for communication? Because 1.5 billion people in the world speak English either as their first language or their second language. And it's not only about business. The British were great explorers. They populated United States of America, Canada, South Africa, and many other African countries, India, Australia, New Zealand, and many other smaller countries associated with that. If I've missed one out, I do apologize. So it means that there are languages like Mandarin that more people speak, but it's a closed area that they speak it in. If you can speak some English, you can travel in many parts of the world and somebody will be able to communicate with you, at least on a small basis. English is that important. The second element is a lot of international companies use English as their language of default. A Japanese company might speak Japanese to their associates living in Japan, but their companies in the United Kingdom, in Australia, in America, Argentina, or whatever they might be, English is the language that they use. German companies, the same. They speak German, but outside of Germany, the language of usage is English. Pharmaceutical companies, similarly, outside of the local areas where they live, English is the de facto language. And that's the reason why it's important. If you want to change your career, improve your career, put more bread on the table, English is a good language to learn. Communication is an important part of that. While I've been in Belarus, which is just over 12 years now, what I've noticed is that there's a lot of attention to learning academic English. Not enough attention to learning communication skills. I see people looking for testing to be B1 or B2 or C1. And the test is associated with grammar and tenses, a certain amount of reading, a certain amount of writing, but not enough about communication. People believe that at B1 or B2, they are good communicators. I'll tell you, there are people who are native speakers like me who are not good communicators. So just because you have an academic status doesn't mean that you have an ability to communicate. So what's important about communication? The number one skill for a good communicator is listening. Listening to what the customer might want, listening to what your associate wants, listening to what somebody needs from you. Listening is the most important element. There's a lot of conversation about, in a business environment, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that proportion. Listening is the critical element about communication. It's good to have a friendly manner. That doesn't work. If you're a friendly manner, people will be warm to you and you have an opportunity to share your expressions. Confidence. If you're confident in your own ability, it shares that confidence with other people. Request feedback. Feedback for your proposition, feedback for how to find the railway station. Could you confirm that it's just down here to the right and turn left? Yes, it is fine. Feedback. Very important in the land of communication. Empathy. Being in tune with people, understanding them and them to understand you. Respect. Let others speak. You don't have to be the leader of the pack all of the time. Let others speak in the communication. I'll go through that again. Active listening, very important. Friendly manner, very important. Confidence, very important. Feedback, understanding feedback, very important. Empathy for the people you're relating with, important. Respect for the people you're speaking to. And the last one, which is also important, is the non-verbal communication. Facial changes, facial expressions can change the way people relate to you. Body movements can relate to people in many ways, perhaps sometimes even greater than speaking. When you're looking at a selling situation in a commercial world, what do people want? Why do they need it? The critical element to communicate with the people is to understand the person you're trying to do business with. I often talk to people and say, well, you didn't meet your husband, your wife, or your partner at a party and then say, I want to marry you. It doesn't happen like that, and neither does it happen in business. You have to cultivate a relationship between yourself and the people that you want to do business with. You have to get their trust. You have to trust them also that they are telling you the truth in situations. You have to learn a little bit about them. I make it a point of knowing the people that we deal with, that I deal with, know a little bit about their family, what their aspirations are, what they're looking forward to. Did they enjoy their holiday? Did they not enjoy their holiday? I need to know something about them so that they know that when I talk to them, it's not all about trying to do a deal. There are times when you need to do a deal. And one thing I can show you, people prefer to do business with people they know and people they trust. It's very hard for somebody buying something to say no to the person they know and trust. And I know that to be true. I'm reminded I should be talking about some things about stereotypes in Britain. We don't drink a lot of tea. We do, but we don't drink more tea than coffee. And maybe people drink more beer than either both of those. But the other thing is the weather. It doesn't always rain. There was a day in 1957, I think it was, where we had sunshine. No, we have sunshine. Sometimes we have good summers, sometimes not so good summers, but it doesn't rain every day. And we don't adore the royal family. Not everybody. For me personally, I'm not against the royal family, but neither am I pro the royal family. They're okay. They don't do any harm to me, and I'm not looking to drag them down. But there are people who love the royal family and know everything about it. Sarcasm. No, we don't do sarcasm in Britain. No, nobody's humour is sarcastic in Britain at all. We are a country which is negative to sarcasm. Everything in Britain is sarcastic, I can assure you. I have a friend who's Danish, lives in Minsk, and every time I see him, the first minute is abuse. He's abusing me and I'm abusing him with sarcastic comments. My wife, the first time she heard it, was saying, why is Carsten so nasty to you and why are you so nasty to Carsten? My response was, because we're very good friends. And we know we can say those things without being taken as something which is going to hurt them. Sarcasm is a bedrock of British humour. And we say things which can hurt, but we don't mean them to hurt. That's very difficult sometimes for people who don't understand that culture, if you like. Sales are about providing a solution. and providing the easiest solution. You can't get into the position of providing a solution unless you have a good relationship with the company you're trying to do business with. And they can't have a business with you unless they trust what you're doing. Communication, very important on many things. Another element is cultural differences. There are cultural differences within the United Kingdom, let alone in different countries. I'll give you an example. If in Glasgow, you introduce your wife, you introduce your wife as your hen, like a chicken, hen. You all right, hen? Had a good day, hen? Would you like to go out, hen? Hen is a term of endearment for a Scotsman to his wife or girlfriend. Hen. Would you like to be called hen? I don't think many women would. You come a little bit south from there to the northeast of England, and the same person is no longer called a hen. These have elevated themselves to become a pet. How are you doing, pet? Have you had a good day, pet? Would you like to go out, pet? Pet. Come a little bit further south, and the conversation for the same person is duck. Had a good day, me duck? What's happening, me duck? Would you like to go out, me duck? Cultural differences are enormous in the United Kingdom, and as they are in different countries, understanding those cultural differences is an important part. I've been very lucky. I've been to China on business. I've done business in Kuwait, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai. I've been to South Africa. I've been to most European countries, and I've been to the United States of America. And wherever I went, there were different cultures. And even within those cultures, there were different personalities that you were dealing with. Communication is very important then, to listen to the conversation of the people you want to communicate with, because if you tell them things and it's against their culture, you've shot yourself. Listening is very important. Cultural change, understanding cultures is very, very important to deliver relationships. As I said, I worked for a German company, Orenstein and Koppel. I took it upon myself to learn German. And it's not always easy to learn a new language, as you know. But I bought tapes to play in the car, I bought the books, and I watched a program on television called Kontakte. But my German grew by communicating with German people who were working for the German company in Britain, and then stepping up a level to be confident enough to speak to people in Dortmund or in Berlin. And the next stage is I took part in meetings in Berlin or in Dortmund. I could understand what the meeting was about and even communicate in the meeting so that people understood my point of view. And here's the situation. I don't gamble. I'm not a gambler. But I know I'm prepared to put 5 Belarusian rubles on the table now. That's how big a gambler I am. I'm prepared to put 5 Belarusian rubles on the table now to say that you do not speak academic Russian to your friends and families and colleagues. You are not academically perfect, and neither am I. Listen, I live with a teacher of English. There are times when I'm being told, you can't do it that way, you have to do it this way. My reaction is to, I gave you my reaction. We don't speak academically perfect in the United Kingdom. I think I saw some information that something like 7% of the population speak academic English as their normal day-to-day operational, which means that 93% of us don't speak academic English. So why do you get so hit up? Why do you get so boiled up of having to be academically perfect? And then you're frightened to speak. Come on, make mistakes. Speak. Speak. Make a mistake. If you're speaking to a native or near native speaker, they will work out what you're trying to say and they will help you. And if they don't help you, they're not worth bothering with as a friend. They will help you. It's not about being perfect. It's about communication. When I speak to people and they're not perfect, I'm more interested in the content of what they're trying to say rather than the excellence of their grammar or their tenses. I can cope with grammar and tenses mistakes, but I can't cope with somebody who doesn't make any attempt to bring something to the table. Speak. The more you speak and speak to a native speaker, the more you will learn. And the more you learn with a native speaker, the more you will get confidence to speak to anybody else. It's the way I learned English. 3 to 4 years of age, you learn from family, friends. And it's not until you get to about 7 that somebody starts to say, okay, now we're going to make it complicated. We're going to talk about verbs and adjectives and nouns and grammar and tenses. Boring. And I understand from a young person's point of view in school, it is important to learn the basics of grammar and tenses because it gives you the groundwork, the basis. But as an adult, you need to learn how to communicate. I'm going to share with you a couple of expressions that we use, really use, not expressions that you get in some textbooks. I shared this one today with one of our people in here, and it's the expression is Mickey Mouse. And I've written in the text on the left-hand side, Mickey Mouse. And does anybody have any ideas what the expression Mickey Mouse means? Feel free to answer. And don't be frightened to answer. Don't be frightened. Nobody's going to take the challenge. Okay, we'll get slowly into it. What did you think of the new restaurant? Did you go there? Yeah. What do you think? It was a bit Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse means it's not very good. Did you have a good holiday? Nah, hotel was Mickey Mouse. Really? It looked good in the brochure. When you get there, it was right next to something which we didn't want to be there, a new building site. Mickey Mouse is an expression of negativity. Another one that we would use is spot on. Spot on. Now, if you translated spot and on, you'd be looking for something to get rid of on your apparel or something. Spot on. Does anybody any idea what spot on might mean? You see, they don't have these in the textbook. That's the problem. They don't have them in the textbooks. But this is how we really speak. These are the type of conversations that we really have. Spot on means perfect. You gave that presentation yesterday afternoon. It was absolutely spot on. It was exactly what we wanted to say to the customer. Well done. Fantastic. Another expression which you use quite often, and I use it quite often, is a no-brainer. A no-brainer. Anybody? Does anybody want to try it? No? No-brainer. Walking down the road, you have a choice. I'm looking for a new car. Going to the showroom. How much is the Volkswagen Passat? We have one here, special offer, $20,000. $20,000, fantastic. Yeah. Let me have a think about that. So you walk about 100, 200 meters further down the road, and you go to the Mercedes garage, and you see a Mercedes, and you say, ooh, how, just out of interest, how much is the Mercedes? And the guy says, special offer, $20,000. No brainer. I take the Mercedes. Much better value. No brainer means you don't have to think about it. It's an obvious solution, an obvious answer. It's a no brainer. There's another one here called numpty. This will never be in any textbook because it's a bit slang. A numpty, and I'm not even going to ask you if anybody knows what it is because you won't know. A numpty is somebody who's stupid. But don't ask him. He's a bit of a numpty. He's numpty, terrible, hopeless. Don't bother to even communicate. He's a numpty. And I learned this expression at my loss. Ripped off. Would anybody like to hazard a guess on what ripped off means? Ripped off. No? Okay, I went on holiday when I was about 26 with another guy, and we went to Mallorca and stayed in a hotel there, and we met a couple of American guys at the bar, and they said, would you like a drink? So we said, yeah, just a small beer, both of us. And the Americans had small beers as well. So it came round and we said, okay, we'll return the compliment. Would you like a drink? And the American said, yeah, we'll have a Chivas Regal whiskey. The Chivas Regal was expensive, and which one? Okay. Well, I have it here, ripped off. Is that the one you're looking at? So ripped off is what I'm talking about at the moment. When the Americans said they have a drink, they have a Chivas Regal, which was much, much more expensive than our beer. We felt ripped off. Somebody took advantage of our generosity. To be ripped off. I don't like being ripped off. I'm sure you don't like being ripped off. You always want value for money. People don't always want the cheapest, but they don't want to be ripped off. Ripped off. I hope that was Anna Novikova, the last one. So the last one I had there is ripped off. Yeah, ripped off means somebody took advantage of you. They ripped you off. They took advantage by... they ripped you off. What more do I need to say? Ripped you off. It means they took advantage of your generosity and only gave you a small return. So being ripped off is an expression we use sometimes in a business environment, sometimes in a non-business. But if you're being ripped off, it means somebody took advantage of your generosity. An expression we use, a raft of. A raft of. Now, translate a raft to everybody's mindset. A raft is a seagoing basic piece of, like a boat, but it's not even good enough to be called a boat. A raft is something which may keep you afloat for a little while. But what is a raft of something? If I said we've got a raft of something, what have I said? We've got a lot of water. We've got a lot of problems. A raft of something means we've got a lot of it. We've got a raft of whatever. We've got a raft of beer. We need to sell it. We've got a raft of cheese. We need to sell their cheese. You need to come talk to me. We've got a raft of cheese. Don't worry. Whatever you need, we won't rip you off because we've got a raft of cheese. Another expression we use quite often is to keep in the loop. Keep in the loop. In a commercial environment, you may have people who are actively involved with a negotiation with another company, but you're not part of that negotiation. But what they will do is they will send you the information, not for you to act on it, but for you to be aware of what's happening, so that when the negotiation is completed and you need to take an active part in it, you are already up to speed with what's needed. And you can hit the ground running. There you are. I've used two expressions to develop it even further. Hit the ground running and up to speed. Keep in the loop. Something just to keep people aware of what's happening in your business, in your commercial relationships, or even in your family. Keep people in the loop. You don't have to do it. You don't have to respond. You don't have to reply. It's just a message to say, this is what's happening at the moment. What else have we got here? Thinking on your feet. This is a nice one. Thinking on your feet. I learned about this with Caterpillar. As a trainee, we had to give presentations, and it was the time when you had slides and a projector onto a screen. And we had a piece of paper with all what the photograph was and the description of what the photograph was on the screen. And the training manager said, learn what the photograph is about. Learn what it says. Learn what you do. You don't need to look down. Learn about it. And we said, yeah, okay, after, no problem. We do. But we didn't. We kept looking at the information there, because we were lazy and we tried to cheat. And then one day he changed all the slides around and we were lost. We didn't know what to do. Not only me, another guy who was training at the same time. Then you have to think on your feet, and then you have to answer. And sometimes to think on your feet, you have to buy some time and maybe walk away and come back, and as if it's part of the act, but you're thinking how to answer the question. Thinking on your feet. Sometimes you can't think of an answer to give the person. And in that situation, it's perfectly reasonable to say, look, I'm not able to give you the answer. It's out of my sphere, but I know the people who deal with that in the company. If you give me your email address, telephone number, and your name, I will get them to call you tomorrow. I will give them the information. They will call you tomorrow, and they will share with you the answer to your question. Thinking on your feet to find a solution that satisfies the customer. That's all I'm going to talk about, because that's enough for you to digest, I think. Is there anything there that you're not sure of? Does anybody can comment, say, which phrase they were not interested in, or which one they're not sure of? Which ones do you like? Which expressions did you like? I know in our own company here, Mickey Mouse is like, people like the expression Mickey Mouse. What about yourself? I'll tell you what, I'll pick on somebody. There's somebody called Helga who's listening. Helga, which is your favorite expression? I can see you. I can see you there, and I can see you listening. You just haven't put your microphone on. Okay. So we've talked about cultural and communication. Those are the important parts. Communication is important. It's about listening. understanding what people need, understanding why they need it. In a commercial world, the discussion goes something like this: how often do you? And the moment you say, how often do you, somebody cannot answer yes or no. Why do you? Nobody can answer yes or no to a question which starts, why do you? Who would you like? Cannot be answered yes or no. And in a commercial communication system, these questions are called information gathering. And these are the questions that you need the other person to give you the information for, to listen to what they have to say. When you have all of the information, you can then feedback and say, okay, let me refreeze and replay the situation. You're saying that you do this, you have that, you want to go here, you want to do this, you want to that, and you say, and yes, that's correct. Okay, I can advise you that the best product we have, which can fit your requirements, is, and then you're in a situation when you're commercially selling something to somebody or trying to do a deal with somebody. It's not always easy. But I can't stress how important it is to know the customer, understand the customer, and for the customer to know you. It's very important. Very important. I'd said to you, you don't meet a girl or a man for the first time and agree to get married on the first date. Or if you do, it's a rarity. And sometimes those marriages don't work, but nevertheless. It's the same with business and communication. You have to build up a rapport, build up a relationship with people. When you're learning English, it's about building up that trust factor. And it's about making the student part of the solution rather than the teacher saying, this is the grammar rule you have to work with. This is the solution, and then you understand how the grammar works. Humanize it. It's a very important word. I hadn't thought of it. Customer thought about it. Humanizing. Why are we here today? I want you to get rid of this problem that you have in your mind that you can't speak because you might make a mistake. Promise me that you will do that. Speak. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. Speak. Make mistakes. Then you will learn. You will learn. And the more you learn and speak to native, near native speakers, the grammar will become obvious. It'll become obvious. Regular practice is important. When I was much younger, I used to play badminton, and Saturday afternoons occasionally the players at a certain level would meet to practice. And we would play two players against one, and the one player had to replicate the same shot every time. Practice, practice, practice doing the same shot. So your muscles knew exactly, your brain didn't have it, your muscles knew exactly what to do wherever you needed. It's the same with speaking. If I go back to the German situation where I was competent speaking, because I haven't been speaking German for many, many, many years, Die Rechnung bitte, Guten Morgen, Guten Nacht, maybe a couple of others, but my German has gone. It's not like riding a bike. Once you can ride a bike, you can ride a bike. Once you can swim, you can swim. If you don't keep practicing the language, you will lose it. I am written proof that that is the situation. So our advice to you, and the webinar is about helping you to better understand my language, English, so that you become competent and confident in speaking the language. I would advise you to have regular conversations with a native speaker. Not always a Russian national speaker speaking English, because again, you know, we used to have lessons on a Sunday with young people and adults in the afternoon. And it was my wife, who's an English language teacher, who's Russian speaking, and myself. And the comment made by the customers were that they understood my wife speaking English better than me speaking English, which hurt me. I was devastated. I couldn't, I was, I couldn't, I'm native speaker. I've got to be better than my wife once. But no, they understood my wife better because she has a Russian accent. She doesn't believe she has, but she does, a little bit. And the intonation of the way she spoke English resonated with the learners of English so that they understood it better. The downside is the majority of commercial and international relationships, the people are not Russian speaking. There's a small percentage, of course, but the people you'll be speaking with don't have a Russian accent. Speak wherever you have the opportunity to a native speaker of English, whether they're British or American, Australian, maybe. I lived for about 6 months with an Australian guy when I was in Geneva, and it's very difficult, very difficult. But every time you have an opportunity to speak to a native speaker, take that opportunity. Learn communication skills. Talk to people. Listen to people. We have a speaking club starting, we're looking at probably middle of October, maybe November. I would advise you to take advantage of that. Not because it's a commercial venture from our point of view, because it does have to pay some bills, but it's a great opportunity to meet and talk to people. It might be me, it might be somebody else, but they will be native speakers of English. For those people who want to learn English, obviously we teach English. That is our primary job, is to teach English. Here's a crazy situation. We have a first test for teachers. Teachers are told at the beginning, you must have a diploma at a recognized linguistic university. You must have at least 2 years experience teaching. There's a test. 70% of the applicants who are teachers and hold a diploma fail the test. That is a ridiculous situation because these people are teaching English somewhere. Their next session is to have a session with me because I want to know whether the teacher has good communication skills, whether the teacher has a good personality, somebody that I would enjoy having another lesson with. The third thing I'm looking for is somebody who has an enthusiasm to encourage the student to do better than they thought they could do. And the fourth skill I'm looking for is somebody who has confidence in their own ability. Unfortunately, just under 90% of the applicants failed to meet all of our requirements, which is sad because there are 90% of the teachers in Belarus who really shouldn't be teaching English, but they do because they can follow a book. The other thing we do not do is we will not have courses with people with more than 4 people in them. 4 students is absolute maximum. Beyond that, it gets difficult for the teacher and difficult for the student to be individually treated. And I've already said, our process, our brand is about giving personal attention to students. If you have I know there's online school companies who give 10, 11, 12 people in a lesson. It doesn't work. You will not get a good education out of that. I guarantee. And we've been one of the pioneers of online education in Belarus. We started in 2015, before COVID, when everybody else was teaching offline and saying that online doesn't work. If you're looking to improve your language from courses, here's a bonus. It's not like me to give money away, I can assure you. I give good value for money. give great value for money. If you want to take advantage of our school, come into www.online-class.by, register, take the free lesson. And it is a lesson. It is not a sales pitch. It is a lesson where we will assess your ability and you can understand how we teach. We do not use Skype. We do not use Zoom or any of those systems. We have our own system which has been developed specifically for education. And for all those things, because I'm in a good mood and we're getting close to my birthday, I'll give you 15% off your first 8 lessons. 15% off your first 8 lessons. Go to our website, onlineclass.by, you structure of the cost. I think our costs are pretty competitive. At 15%, I don't know how I'm going to be able to live. I can't afford to buy the groceries. I won't be able to pay the electricity bill, the water bill, the gas bill, but hopefully you'll be satisfied. Sarcasm? Okay. That's the British thing. Stereotypes? There are some British stereotypes. Some people think I'm a British stereotype, but I'm not. Any questions that somebody might have? I'm open to questions. I'll stay as long as you want to stay. That's as much as I want to talk about this evening. There's probably more I could say, that I recognize that people can only put up with about 45 minutes, and I'm open to any of your questions. You can either audio or send them in the chat on the left hand side. So over to you. Your go. Please, somebody respond. Make me feel as if I've done something. Okay. Ilya, I love you. There you go, Ilya. That's the proper hat. You know, the bowler hat. This is a bowler hat. It's the hat of the bankers and financial people who have made it a little bit higher in the grade. It's a status that people who wear the bowler hat have a status. Before that, people who had a status had top hats, but top hats were very difficult to keep on your head when it was raining or when it was windy. So the bowler hat became the symbol of British people who have. Okay, Zhenya, why did you decide to stay in Belarus for so many years? Living in Belarus is not, I used to go to language schools and the first question was, why are you living in Belarus? And it was kind of in a way that says, well, if I had a choice, I'd live in Britain rather than live in Belarus. And my question back to these people was, oh, how long did you live in Britain to be able to make that judgment? And of course, the answer was, no, we've never lived in Britain. There are things in Britain which are better than Belarus. Of that, there is no doubt. There are things in Belarus that are better than things in the United Kingdom. For me personally, I have a really good family relationship in Mogilov. We built a house in Mogilov. We built online class in Mogilov. We have students from Lithuania, from Poland, from Montenegro. We have a teacher in China, a teacher in Mexico, teachers from different parts. It's a great testimony about people in Belarus. I'm comfortable living in Belarus. I have been back to the United Kingdom once, and that was about 5 years ago. And I can really remember we were there for 10 days. And after about 8 days, I said to my wife, do you know what? I really want to go home. Because in my mind, home was Mogilov in Belarus. I can't explain it any more than that, but it's a feeling that I feel I'm at home in Belarus. I hope that answers your question. And sorry for the sarcastic first answer that my wife told me to. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Don't speak Russian. I can speak a little bit of Russian. To say I don't speak Russian is lying. My name is not Donald Trump. I can speak enough Russian to get around. I go to Minsk on my own, and I don't have a problem traveling around, etc., etc. I don't have any issues with that. I can go to a shop, I can buy what I need. I can go to a restaurant or a cafe and get what I need. So to say that I know no Russian is damaging to me. I feel hurt by people saying I know no Russian, but I don't know it enough to have a good conversation with people like you. And you guys are the problem. It's all your fault. I just realized it's all your fault because they know that I'm a native speaker of English and they want to speak to me in English to advance their own ability to speak English. And they forget that I need to learn Russian. It's all your fault. Okay. English club happening. Okay. English club. I, we talked to Yulia, who's our media lady, and we talked about the first subject. And the first subject I thought about was about music. Well, I like music, and I hope most people have a point of view on music. What I was going to do is there are many pieces of music which are the same piece, but sung or delivered in a different way by different artists. And I was going to say, okay, there's pieces of music here, 1, 2, 3, and we'll discuss which one you preferred, why you preferred it, and everybody can have their discussion as to why they think it's important to have this one better than that one. There's a song called "We Have All the Time in the World." Part of it there's an instrumental version, and there's a part which is a sung version, and they have totally different feelings. Music. But I'm very open for you guys to say what we would like to talk about next week is, and that's I would like you to make those comments. Anna Novikova, where do you live nowadays? In Mogilov. Yes, I live in Mogilov. If you know Mogilov, you have the park where you have this grandiose staircase coming down to the park. If you get to the bottom of the staircase, you turn slightly left. You've got a white church or monastery, I think they call it, in front of you. We live down by there. We built a house, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago now. So yeah, I'm putting my roots down in Mogilov. We built a house here in Mogilov. It's a great system in Belarus. I really like it because I built the house, my wife owns it. We built online class, my wife owns it. It saves all aggravations if there's any split. Everything is gone. My wife owns it. And I'm quite happy for that to happen. Next question. Where do I live nowadays? In Mogilov. I live down by the river Dnieper. I'm happy to live there. Next question. Anybody else? Okay. Don't you have something like offline meetings in coffee shops in Magaluf? Do you know something? I would like to do that. And I've spoken to a couple of coffee shops. There's Mere 23 and Central Cafe, which is not far from our offices, which is in Technopark. And I've offered to say, look, Friday afternoon, 2:30 to 3:30 or whatever time is suitable, let's have a session. And they don't come back and talk about it. So maybe we should be more aggressive and say, listen, we'd like to do it and we'd like to do it here. So Xenia, where would you think the best coffee shop would be to hold it? For an offline meeting. We used to have it in our office, but we moved offices now upstairs in Technopark, and it's not always convenient there. But a coffee shop is better, because you can buy me coffee. Any ideas, Xenia? No? Where's the other one? Van Gogh. Oh, there's a French one, or I don't know, French coffee further down Leninskaya. Any other questions? It doesn't have to be about Mogilov. It can be about anywhere. Is it really useful to watch series and films in English? It's never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. Is it really useful to watch series and films in English? And which subtitles are better to use, Russian or English? I really don't know. But what I would like to share with you is that when they make movies and films, they don't make the movie to teach you English. It's like music. If you listen to songs by different people, sometimes they don't make an awful lot of sense if you just read the lyrics. But the music and the lyrics make a great sound. Is it really useful to watch series and films in English? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it will, anything which stimulates your mind to think in English has got to be good. It's got to be good. Which subtitles are better to use, Russian or English? Well, I guess if the film is in English, it might be better to have subtitles. But the problem is you're going like this all of the time. That's why you need to learn my English language, and I can't make it that much more important. Where we go? My favorite cafe is Buffet. It's a good place to have a coffee. Okay, I know Buffet. Buffet's not far from where we live. Let's talk to Buffet. I know my wife, who was formerly a teacher at Lyceum Number 1 in Mogilov. The owner of Buffet, I think, was a student at Lyceum Number 1. So maybe we'll go along to see him. What day is it today? Tuesday. This before the end of the week, we'll go down to see him and see what his opinion is. You have to remember he has a commercial business to run, so it has to sit in the best time for him to do it, and the best day as well. But I'm open to it. So I was studying in the first Lyceum. Oh, terrible teachers. No. We have people in our company who are from Lyceum Number 3, and we have some people from Lyceum Number 1. Clash. What's your opinion of Lyceum Number 1? Did you enjoy it there? I don't have your name, whoever. Oh, that is Natalie. No. Any other questions? I'm open, still going. I'll stay here as long as you keep throwing questions at me. Nope, you have no more? Okay. I like the atmosphere there, and it was lovely to study there. Okay, we'll try it. As I said before, I'm open to have these conversations where people can make a mistake and not be criticized. Can make a mistake and not be criticized. I read something a little while ago that the only people who are really concerned about whether you have great grammar and great tenses, the only people who are really interested in it are your teachers. The teachers want you to be great at grammar because that's what they're teaching you. And there is a need for it at a certain time, but when you're an adult, you need a different type of teaching. You need to be a more rounded learning of English. What advice can you give for people who are afraid of speaking in English because of the small vocabulary? That's always the problem. That is always the problem, Sasha. And I see so many people who say they're frightened to speak in case they make a grammar mistake or whether they make a tense mistake. Speak. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I'm more interested in the content of what you're saying rather than whether you're grammatically perfect. Some years ago, there was a program on British television called Euro Trash. Euro Trash. And it was given by two French guys, Antoine Duconis and some other guy, both French guys. Their accent was very French. It was difficult to understand them. But everybody loved the program. Everybody loved the program. Their grammar wasn't perfect either, but everybody loved the program. And they were on for many years. Okay. Can you teach American English if you use British? You know, the Americans are still learning how to speak English, and we're helping them as much as we can. But we do have a native speaker who is an American as well. So you don't have to put up with me. But yeah, I've been to America many times, and what I can assure you is that they understand the British English. And what I can also assure you is that if you speak British English in America, they all go, wow, that's fantastic. I love the way you speak. Speak some more. Tell me some more. When you have an American speaking English in Britain, you have a similar situation. An American, speak some more. Did you used to be a cowboy? No. So, I think, yeah, all of the English-speaking countries have some similarity in the way they speak. There are some expressions which are different. Australians, for example, somebody told me the way to speak with an Australian accent is to have your lips like that, and then you can speak Australian. Okay, mate? I don't know if an Australian was listening, he'd probably shoot me. But they all have a slightly different. South Africa is very different again. The South African accent has got a lot of Dutch influence into it. But you understand everybody. I think if you know American English and British English, you will be able to be understood in South Africa and Australia and New Zealand and India and any of the other countries where I think there are 53 countries in the world where English is the language of the country. I didn't know there were 53. I didn't stick in my mind. So we need to know both American and British. There's very little difference in it. And I've not been to the Southern American states. I've been to New York, I've been to Chicago, and I've been to Seattle. And they if you go to New York, they talk to their nose. They don't talk very clearly, and they talk very different. Chicago is much open. Seattle is very good, very clear. So that's Seattle. A lot of rain in Seattle, very British. Anymore. But speak is the main thing. Make mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the more somebody will help you to correct. The more you practice, the mistakes will become less and less and less, and the grammar will become obvious. You don't have to learn it. The grammar will become obvious. Do you think it's a good idea to give up your native Slavic accent in English, try to sound like Hollywood? No! 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 Absolutely no! Keep your accent. It identifies you. Some years ago, a government official in Belarus wanted me to train them so that they give a presentation in London and that the people in London wouldn't be able to differentiate their presentation to the local person. I said, why do you want to do that? And they said, well, we want to sound as if we're perfect in English. Be different. Be different. They'll remember you if you're one of 10 people making presentations and you're the one who has a slight Russian accent. Improve your ability to communicate, improve your pronunciation, yes, but don't change your accent. Improve it if you can. If you have a difficult accent to understand, you can improve that. But you'll do that by speaking to people. You'll do that by speaking to people. I was speaking to somebody this afternoon at 5 o'clock who's a lawyer, and he wants to improve his English so that he can start his own legal company and communicate to international companies. When I first talked to him, he was very frightened to speak. When he realized I wasn't going to bite, he opened up and he made some mistakes, but he enjoyed it. Make the mistakes. Hollywood stars, well, of course, I used to be a Hollywood star in my dreams. You think it's a good idea to give up your Slavic accent? No, I don't. I really don't. I have an accent. I have an accent. I would be absolutely devastated if I lost my Welsh accent. I am Welsh. It's one of the languages, official languages in the United Kingdom. English, Welsh, Scottish Gaelic, Irish Gaelic, Cornish, and one other language is legal language in the United Kingdom. Cornish is the bottom left-hand side of the peninsula. Welsh, English, Scottish, Irish, Gaelic. One more. Any idea? There's one more language that you can use and say, if you go to a court, you can say, I want to use this language to have my court proceedings discussed in. Nobody's going to get it. Nobody's going to get it. I'll write it down. Sign language is now a legal language in the United Kingdom. People who can't speak or can't hear properly, they can speak in sign language. They can go to a court of law. They can insist that the case is taken using sign language. Sign language is a legal language in the United Kingdom. It was maybe the last 2 or 3 years it became legal, and a very important case, I think. Very important. You don't have an accent in sign language. You don't have to be a Hollywood actor. And you know that they have a very big television program called Strictly Come Dancing. It's on a Saturday evening. My wife loves it. We've been watching it for many years. And there was a girl who was an actress, but she couldn't speak. She was dumb. And she was deaf and dumb. And she had to dance to music. And she succeeded in understanding the rhythm of the dance. And she won the whole program. Dancing, Strictly Come Dancing. Great program, BBC, Saturday evening. You can get it on YouTube as well. I'll write it down. Strictly Come Dancing. You can do it on. You can find it on YouTube. Any more? Any more for any more? There's still people listening. You want me to keep talking all night? Be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for. No more. But I'm deadly serious about not losing your accent because it identifies you. A Scots person would not want to lose their Scottish accent. An Irish person would not want to lose it. Somebody from the northeast of England, a Geordie, wouldn't want to lose their Geordie accent. It identifies you. It gives you some status in the situation. I think the only accent in Britain which people really don't like is the accent from Birmingham in the centre. What is your favourite musicians? Sasha, okay. My home in the United Kingdom was in a small village close to the town of Monmouth. And in Monmouth, there was a recording studio where some of the biggest music acts recorded their music. Queen recorded Bohemian Rhapsody there, Oasis recorded there, Def Leppard, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin. A lot of these groups and bands recorded at the, I'll write it down so you can check it. Rockfield Studios. Now, in the village that I lived in, there were 3 rock and roll stars. One was a guy called Jeffrey Downes, who was a keyboard player in a group called Yes. The other guy was a drummer, and if I was doing this from home, I would go into my drawer, bring out my drumsticks. One is a guy called Pick Withers, who was the drummer in a group called Dire Straits. And the other guy was a singer in a group, his name is Robert Plant. He was a singer in a group called Led Zeppelin. And they all lived in the village or in the vicinity of the village because it's an area of outstanding natural beauty, and they had the recording studio close by. My favorite band was Led Zeppelin. No, it wasn't. Dire Straits were my favorite band because a lot of their music was melodic and very cleverly written and had a message. An individual person, I think I like a guy called Cat Stevens. Writes his own music, sings his own music. All right, Mr. Native English speaker. Okay, this is serious. Let's get serious at the end. Cats or dogs? I'm going to be totally honest. I've never fallen in love with a cat. But we do have a dog at home. It's a love-hate relationship. We love to hate each other. The dog and me and the dog, we love to hate each other. And he can be crazy sometimes, but he's our dog. I've never had a cat. I've nothing against cats. How about you? Artur, are you a cat lover or a dog lover? Why a cat? Because I suppose the British have a reputation for being animal lovers. Yeah. Not all of us. Not all of us. No, not all of us. How many people like cats and how many people like... It would be interesting to have a poll to see what the position is. How many people like cats and how many people like dogs? That's the kind of thing you could do at Buffet. You could have people say, okay, who likes cats, who likes dogs? And you could get an instant poll, an instant solution. Okay, so Sasha likes Led Zeppelin. I'll tell you a funny story. My business that I had in Britain, we made feature staircases, curved staircases and things like that. And my son used to play with Robert Plant's son, the singer of Led Zeppelin. And James was playing with Robert Plant's son, and Robert Plant needed to go somewhere. And I was in my company, in my office in the company, and he phoned me up. And you know, sometimes when you call somebody, they put you on hold and they play some music. So the music that we had when people were on was Stairway to Heaven, which was a Led Zeppelin standard song. And when Robert Plant got through, he said, "Now, I need you to come and pick James up because we have to go out, etc." So I said, "That's fine. I can get that sorted out." He said, "And by the way, do you know you have to pay money to play Led Zeppelin music, no matter where it is? So you owe me money." But he was joking and he didn't turn it. But they want every month. Once you get going with cats, there's no return point. Maybe best I don't start then. Maybe best I don't start. Listen, I'm quite happy with a goldfish. Yeah, quite happy with a goldfish. If you want to love, have a cat. You want to be loved, have a dog. Okay, Daria, you're the man. You're the woman. If you want to love, have a cat. If you want to be loved, have a dog. All animals, cats and dogs, are so cute, but if I have a choice, I want a cat. Everybody has the choice, and the good thing about life is you can have choice. The cats used to be an expression about, hey, a cat was hey, there's a real cool cat. A cool cat was somebody who dressed the latest things, and a cat was somebody who had a certain amount of ability to be charismatic. A cat. All animals, cats and dogs, are so cute, but if I have a choice, I want a cat. What's stopping you, Sasha? Why can't you have a cat? If you want to what about horses? Horses. What about horses? Do you know, I like sport. I like any sport. I've played quite a lot of sport. I do not like watching any sport which is associated with a horse, primarily because the horse does all the work and the rider gets the prize. I've never been. I don't have anything against horses again, but I've never been associated with horse loving. But I did go pony trekking once. There's a lot of places in South Wales where they have pony trekking, and I went pony trekking. I think it was something like about 4 or 5 hours up hills, down trails, and what have you. And I have to say, it was the most painful experience of my life. I couldn't sit down for about a fortnight. It was really painful. So I never tried horse riding again. Probably because I don't know the technique of moving with the horse, and I was probably going down when I should have been going up. But I can assure you, it's you have to understand the way it works. Horses, lovely beasts, fabulous beasts. I know people who love horses. Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Do I love riding horses? I have. But I have. Oh, I did once. When I was living in Ireland, I decided to rent a horse in a place called Limerick, which is on the west coast of Ireland, near the Shannon River. So I rented this horse, and it wouldn't go. No matter how I tried, this horse was stubborn and wouldn't go. So I spent some money renting a horse for about an hour, and we went about 20 meters. So my experiences with a horse is not wonderful. But other people love them. I'm sure you do, or else you wouldn't have asked the question. Anna, any others? Any more? Any more for any more? Come and talk here. Okay, the thumbs up and the smiles. Okay, that answers that. But I'm open to, and this is the type of the way that the speaking club will go. In fact, I would really prefer if we could have it so that there was an audio, so you could speak to me and I could speak to you in that fashion. But we decided to do it this way on the first one. What is your dream for future years? My dream is to be 50 years younger and a multi-millionaire. That is my dream. At the moment, the future years, It's remarkable how quickly the years fly past. And you you frequently read comments about saying, "Don't waste the time. Your time on Earth is short. Don't waste it doing stupid things, and do the things you want to do." And you ignore them. You ignore those good pieces of advice. And I'm guilty of doing that as well. My dream for the future, I suppose at the moment, I want good health. I want happiness. I'd like peace in the world, but that's out of my control. But personally, happiness and health. That's me. Anything more? Who's that? Sasha V again. Yeah. Sasha S. Come on, guys. Is Valentina? She hasn't come in. Anastasia, come on. Leonid, I hope that's not the one I think it is. Svetlana, come on. You can talk. I'm open. Bring your questions. Oh, okay. Hi, Mel. Thank you. It's obvious to hear clear British. What I was taught in school and university in Minsk is a pleasure to have in Belarus, helping people to master their speaking skills. Please share your thoughts on AI tools that are appearing more and more today. AI is a very interesting discussion point because we have a good friend who's he has a business which is built on interpretation, and he's saying that maybe 3 or 4 years ago he would have a lot of interpretations to do that were hand done and naturally translating. Now he just puts it on he puts it on an AI system, and it does most of it. And all he has to do is do a little bit of polishing to make it perfect. What's this, Vladimir? Can open a personal correspondence with me, technical support. I'm not sure I understand what that. AI tools for education. I think it's getting better. And I think if you ignore it, you would ignore things at your peril. I remember reading that television, when it was first produced, 90-something% of the people said, no, we wouldn't want television. Yet the reality is, people then wanted and needed television. Television became part of everything. AI, it needs to get better, because I don't know about you. I really don't like it when you have a telephone call with your bank or something, and you know it's a robot. And I had one, and the question was about the name. So I gave my name. And they said, they repeated my name. So I said, yes, it is. And the answer was, we don't understand your answer. So if I said yes or no, they would understand that, yes, it is. The AI system was confused. So I think it still has a long way to go. And anything that can help people to understand is a bonus. I think there will always be a role for the teacher to make it humanistic. Humanize it, again, is an important element. But AI can add value. Do you use any AI tools to get being a millionaire? No. Yeah, no. Me and computers do not see eye to eye. I am absolutely delighted when I turn the computer on and the screen flickers and I can get into whichever browser I'm using. And then the ability to get into send an email, yes, that's great. But I'll share something with you. And there is a system which people talk about, which is called KISS, KISS. And KISS is nothing to do with anything. KISS is about keep it simple, stupid. So I think the more simplistically you can make things, Don't make it complicated. It's like learning English. Don't use complicated words when you can use a simple word. You don't need to learn words which the majority of native speakers don't use. Just keep it simple, stupid. And I think AI, if it can make it simple, that's a bonus for everything. I heard that in UK people mostly don't use mixed tap. Do you have a cold tap and hot tap? That's true. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. In Britain, you have a cold tap or a hot tap. There's a reason for it, but I'm being told our time is running out. But let's keep that question for the next time. Let's keep that that's something for you to come back to. That's our hitch. That's our link for the next time we do it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been beneficial. I hope to see you again. And I really do hope that we can help you improve your understanding of my language, English. I will close by saying good night, but I'll also say good night in Welsh. And good night in Welsh is nos da. Have a good evening. Take care. Thank you ever so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you.